Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Space Snacks. And today's guest is Laurence Tognetti. Hi, Laurence. How are you doing?
I'm good, Cyan. How are you? Thank you very much for having me.
I love the fact that we both have our hats on today. I've got my Meals for Mars, and you've got your Santa hat on.
Yeah, I am kind of in desperate need of a haircut, and I just threw it on the other day. I was reading a chapter from my book, and I said, and it was launch day, and so I was like, well, Christmas came early, so I'm just gonna wear, because of the launch, I'm just gonna wear a Santa hat. So it's become kind of like my trademark.
I love it. Christmas, the holiday season, the Christmas season is my favorite. It's my favorite. I'm a person who actually likes all of the Christmas music.
Oh yeah.
and everything. So I wish it was Christmas all year round.
Oh yeah.
So is that your favorite holiday also?
It actually is. It actually is because Christmas is when all my family comes together, and it's like the one time that I actually look forward to. I don't know. It's just something about it. I just love it.
Yeah, well, the big thing too is that I also it's a time when I get off and I don't have to work.
Right.
And so and the family and just it just makes me feel good. One of the things, it brings back memories of being a child, and that's one of the things that I think we lose as we get older, is some of those childhood things that we love.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
And space is one of those things, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. Is first, tell me a little bit about you and your background.
I am a 6-year United States Air Force veteran. I've always been into space ever since I was a kid. My mom used to take us to the old Chabot Observatory in Oakland. Are you familiar with the Chabot Air and Space Science Center
No.
Well, it's this really extravagant setup they got multiple telescopes. It's a big science, exploratorium, museum type place. But back in the early 90s, it was tucked away. This is 92, 93. They had maybe 2 telescopes, a little makeshift planetarium, excuse me. And my mom used to take my younger brother and I there all the time. And that really got me hooked. And I was immediately hooked on the planet Mars, and she would always buy me rent a bunch of documentaries on Mars about, us going to Mars and stuff like that.
Wow, that is so fantastic. And so when you were a kid and you fell in love with space, what was it that you wanted to do or saw yourself? Did you want to be an astronaut? Did you want to be a research scientist?
Oh no, I just like 99% of kids out there, I absolutely saw myself as an astronaut. I wanted to go to Mars. I wanted to walk on Mars. I used to walk around the house with a big paper bag over my head, and I put saran wrap in the front, and I would act like I was an astronaut on the moon and Mars.
Oh, I love that. Now, is that something that you still are pursuing? Do you still want to be an astronaut?
Yes. I got tied up with a bunch of other things. I wasn't able to submit my application this last time, but the next time around, I'm definitely gonna submit my application. And no, I'm definitely spending time on Twitter, reading a lot of advice from current astronauts and retired astronauts on how to make your application stand out.
Oh yeah, that's we can talk about that because I kind of went through that process, although it's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about when you got out of the military, you decided to go to school, to undergrad, and then on to graduate school. What did you get your degrees in, and why?
About a year and a half before my contract was up, I was actually deployed, and it was kind of some downtime, and I was asking myself kind of what I wanted to do, after I got out, and I searched, and at the time I started becoming very interested in the field of astrobiology, the search for life beyond Earth. And I literally Googled astrobiology bachelors, and Florida Tech and Arizona State came up. And I can't remember exactly why I picked Florida Tech, but I went there, went for a few semesters, and I kind of wanted to be closer to home. I don't know anyone in Florida, so then I transferred to ASU, and thankfully the requirements are actually very similar, and so it was a very clean transfer. But yeah, I graduated. The official degree title for the bachelor's in ASU is Earth and Space Exploration, Concentration Astrobiology, Biogeosciences. Graduated from the School of Earth and Space Exploration in 2017, and then I still kind of wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was still on my military education benefits at the time, so I was fortunate enough to be able to do 2 semesters as what they call a non-degree grad student. The summer of 17 did research, fall 17 took some classes, and then I just decided I just wasn't ready for the workforce. I kind of wanted to stay in academia for a time, and then Jim Bell was kind enough to take me on under the tutelage of his postdoc at the time, Dr. Tanya Harrison, who's my personal hero, and I'm actually wearing one of her shirts right here from her website. She's the undisputed queen of Mars. She knows everything about Mars.
We interviewed Tanya on the show earlier, and so she's awesome.
She is, and so I was on this unofficial fast track program where I was able to crank out start of research to defense in 11 months, which is record shatteringly fast.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then I applied to stay at CC for my PhD. I had this big hot spring project. Unfortunately, I just didn't get in. And then I walked in May, and then I wanted to really spend some time on my book, and that's kind of where we're at now. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up a picture and for your research, for your master's, and tell us a little bit about this.
Sure. I studied what's known as scalloped depressions in a region known as Utopia Planitia on Mars. Scallop depressions are these geomorphological formations, or they're that are formed from glacial processes, ice sublimating, going from the solid stage, straight from the solid stage to the solid phase to the gas phase, and they're typically formed when Mars is at what's known as high obliquity. The Earth kind of stays at the same relative tilt, about 23 degrees, but Mars has these very extreme variations going from 15 degrees to 45 degrees. And so when it's at the extreme at 45 degrees, that's when these formations at very high latitudes tend to form. And so I was studying how the topography affects the growth patterns of these landforms. And I was fortunate enough to present at AGU 2018. Tanya Harrison actually took that photograph, which presenting the poster was fun, but it was kind of a bummer being scheduled at Friday from 3 to 5 p.m.
Oh, that's a killer.
The what?
That's a killer time because it's
well, no, it's the end of the conference, and so
yeah, that's what I mean. As a killer, not in a good way, killer.
Yeah, right. No,
in a bad way. There's nobody there.
No, there's not. I talked to maybe 3 people that stood there for an hour. And then that would, but actually the few people who I spoke to, I actually learned quite a bit. And so I'm just hoping to expand upon that research for a PhD. This last cycle, I got caught up doing working on a paper with a former colleague when I was on exoplanets, and I got it into my head that I could go back to exoplanets just because there was something about him that have always been interesting. But unfortunately, nowadays, if you're lacking certain classes, they don't let you make them up. You kind of have to stay in your lane, essentially. And so I kind of didn't look well that that well into that aspect. But I'm actually still helping that same colleague on that paper right now. I'm doing a bunch of quantitative stuff in Python. But I'm right now working on a potential PhD project to expand upon my master's work, and it's actually turning out really well. I just really hope that I can pitch it to Tanya, and just kind of seek her advice as I always do, which direction I can go and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's really great. When you're thinking about exploration, I'm going to guess that if you could go anywhere, well, I don't know with you, because we're going to talk about your book in a minute, which is the outer system moons. But if you could explore anywhere in our solar system, where would you want to go and why?
If I had to pick one place, I'm trying to remember. I think I put Mars on your little questionnaire. I think that's what I did.
But now I expanded it to anywhere.
Oh, right, anywhere. That's. Oh, I don't know. It's kind of tied between the two. It's tied between Mars and Saturn's moon Titan, to be honest. Saturn's moon Titan is, believed to have the kind of early conditions, or the conditions of like early Earth, and there's good excuse me, there's a number of scientists in the field who believe that someday when as our star grows and expands, then the habitable zone that we're currently in is going to expand as well.
Right.
And it's going to eventually reach Titan, to where Titan might have life forms, as we do now. So yeah, it's definitely a tie between Mars and Titan.
That's really cool. And so I want to ask you, I have your book, which thank you for a copy of it, which is so cool. I love it. For those of you that don't know, this is a 3D book, which comes with the glasses. What made you, inspired you to write this book? Because it's so cool.
Well, thank you. That is that's Doe Crater on a Jupiter's moon Callisto. What inspired me was this book right here. Was
with Antonio, and we had Antonio on earlier.
Yeah,
and so
Mars
you and Antonio are friends, and I know you've done field work together.
Yes, we've gone on two fieldwork trips. Last summer we went on a Mars radiation analog field trip, where we went to a lava tube up near Flagstaff, Arizona, and recorded radiation levels outside the tube, and then went inside the tube and recorded at different distances, inside the tube, 100 meters, maybe 500 meters. I think the tube itself is like a mile long. And so his book definitely inspired me to do it. But obviously Mars is taken, as so I couldn't do one on Mars. And I studied Europa for a year, from January 2017 until December 2017. And I just felt that, if I'm going to write a book, similar in style to his, where you have like, the like left is, the text, and the right is, the images. I just felt that the moons, would make a good way to kind of do that.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's funny. I'm really happy that I have the set of both of these. And because I also went to Arizona State School, it was the geology department back then. And so it wasn't CC yet, but I was not a planetary geologist. And so I never took a planetary science class. And so everything that I've learned has been through reading other people's books. And so I'm really excited to read both of the books back to back now that I have them both.
Well, thank you. No, Antonio's, I as I said, I definitely modeled mine after his. I think I met with him. I had a FaceTime meeting with him, when the process started. Then towards the end of any process, it gets a little hectic. I had to maybe text him a few times about how he kind of finished it up. But for anyone who's kind of wanting to write a book, whether it's a all word book or a picture book like mine and Antonio's, do it on something that you're really passionate about. That's very important. Don't just do it just to do it, because if you're not passionate about the subject that you're writing about, it's not going to turn out as well as you wanted it to, you know.
It's hard to write a book, and this one, it's so well done. You did it. You self-published this, correct? Mm-hmm. You did a which is really difficult to do, because I also did it for my book. Are you interested? Did you like the process? Do you want to write another one?
I do. I'm actually chatting with a colleague about an idea she's kind of throwing around. Because it's her idea, I can't really share it.
Of course.
Yeah. I think there's a chance I might be maybe a co-author on that, or maybe, you know, write the forward, just like you see Dr. Jessica Noviello wrote the forward in mine. So I might have a chance to you know, as I said, be a co-author, or maybe, you know, write the forward, maybe work on some you know, images in Photoshop. But we've had like a very brief conversation about it. Her and I are very tied up right now.
Well, do you know that you and I have something very much in common between your book and my book, both of them? And so at the beginning of your book, you have a quote from one of my favorite astronauts.
Yes, Dr. Scott Brzezinski.
Yes. And in my book, Scott wrote the foreword for my book. Yeah. He's a good friend of mine. And so I actually have him on my wall somewhere, hanging upside down. Am I going in the right direction? My head is there. I have a green screen back there, but you can see him maybe. I'm terrible at pointing. That's Scott.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he fixed the ISS.
Oh,
yeah. And so
he's on 5 flights.
So that's kind of funny that both of our books. And so I want to talk to you, going back to exploration and imagining that you're on Mars. What would you want to eat there if you could eat anything, and why?
Anything that's in your book, I will take. Anything. Anything that's in your book.
That's funny.
No, well, it's funny. I'm eating small bowl of oatmeal right now, so I would imagine that's probably the like food of choice. Probably, you know.
Do you when it comes to food, are you a cook? Do you like, you know, do you bake? Do you like takeout? What are you doing?
I'm not really much of a baker, but I definitely have a George Foreman grill that I use frequently, and then I have a crock pot that I use frequently. But
those are 2 of my staples. I've got my George Foreman. I did a little space snacks where you can grill cheese on the George Foreman, and then I got my Instant Pot going right now with some meat cooking in it. Love that thing.
Oh yeah, no, it's yeah. Those 2 are definitely lifesavers. Yeah, but you know, if it's like a long day and I'm like out and it's late, I'm just gonna go through a drive-through.
Yeah, you know, I used to be able to do that, but now at my age, can't do the drive-through as much. I kind of miss it, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, nowadays it's tough because every restaurant is drive-through only. So when you show up, there's like 50 cars in the drive-through, and it's like it's not worth it.
I know. If you could go and if you could be on Mars and have a meal, one of your favorite meals, who would you want to bring with you, and why?
Well, it's a tie between you. To be totally honest, and
who would want a space chef?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then you know, I mentioned previously my former master's thesis supervisor, Dr. Tanya Harrison. She's because she knows anything and everything about Mars. So I would probably have to bring both of you, because you would be able to cook, and then she's gonna help me survive on. She's going to help us survive on Mars.
Oh, I'm right there with you, Tanya. She'd be fantastic to bring along. I mean, she knows like every inch of Mars, and so I could see us having a nice meal there. And when I gotta ask you about ET Exists, because and if you're watching live right now, please leave a comment. If you have a question for me or Laurence, just leave a comment and we'll, or at least say hi. Just let us know you're here and where you're watching from. And I should say that those who do leave a comment, you can win a recipe card. And so I pick one recipe card. Can you see that? That's a Texas guacamole.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. So I pick one recipe card every episode to give away to somebody who just leaves a comment in, type it in the Facebook chat there for us. So ET Exists. Tell me about this, Laurence. Where, why, how?
I kind of just lucked out on it. It's my Twitter handle is ET_exists. I joined Twitter back in 2009, and then I think I might have had a different handle back then. I didn't touch Twitter for a while, and then I think it changed it to ET Exists, and it just said it was available. So I definitely lucked out on that one. And my website is ET Exists with no underscore, just straight etexist.com. I sell shirts and mugs and space theme pillows. But yeah, no, as I said in the previous interview I did, I definitely lucked out on at ET Exists. I'm always getting comments, on Twitter about how it's a great handle and how it's very fitting.
And so, but it fits in with your narrative too of wanting to be an astrobiologist.
Yeah.
And so, and where, I'm assuming since you say ET exists, that ET exists.
Absolutely. Absolutely. and there's obviously several hypotheses as to why we haven't heard from ET exists, known as the Fermi's paradox.
Yep.
I for one just think that we haven't heard from them because space is just a lot bigger than people think it is. You think you hear about, oh hey, we found this, we like oh look, my dad just commented.
Hey. Hi.
Hi. I think we just confirmed a terrestrial planet around our nearest star, Proxima Centauri. It's if I read the article right, it's a terrestrial Earth-sized planet, and so like everyone is like up in arms, like, oh my God, are we gonna, it's ET there? It's only 4 light years away, which means we would have heard from them by now.
Right.
And there's
if there was intelligent life that.
Yes. Yeah. If there was intelligent life, I just think that the nearest intelligent technological civilization isn't as close as we think. I think it's at least a few hundred light years away because space is just it's huge. It's mind-bogglingly much bigger than people realize.
Well, Laurence, I don't know if you know this, but I was on a show. Have you seen this?
I knew you've been on a few shows. I didn't know you were on that show.
Yeah, I'm on Genius by Stephen Hawking, and I just so happened to be in episode 2 called Are We Alone?
Oh.
And it's all about the search for extraterrestrials through, Stephen Hawking's kind of narrative about it. And so it was a lot of fun to go and shoot that. And again, his standpoint, it works you through that. And like you were saying, some of the challenges and the paradox and there is finding life in our solar system or in the universe, but then there's finding intelligent life.
Yes.
And being able to distinguish between those two and how we would be able to know if life exists, how would we know if it's intelligent and stuff. And so it was a really great process to go through that and to get into that framework of thinking about ET existing and the search for extraterrestrials. So from your point of view and your background, where do you think the best spot is for us to look for life in our solar system? What do you think?
Oh, there's actually several. I mean, you know, in the past, it was just Mars. I mean, Mars is all, like, starting with I don't want to say findings, but the like work of Percival Lowell up at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff. Mm-hmm. He thought he saw what looked like these canals that were initially discovered by Schiaparelli over in Italy. But lately it's definitely expanded. It's no longer just Mars. You have Jupiter's moon Europa with that giant salty ocean inside that has I think they've approximated as like 3 times as much water as the Earth has. And then you have Saturn's moon's Titan, which has literal liquid lakes or lakes of liquid methane underneath that really foggy, smoggy atmosphere. And so, like, just going off of like proximity, I would say Mars. It doesn't take that long to get there. It takes just a tad bit longer to get out to Jupiter, and then even a tad bit longer to get out to Saturn, and a tad bit meaning like several years. So it's like, if the planets are aligned properly, it takes about 6 months to get to Mars. So I think because we're just so heavy on Mars, we keep sending stuff there. We're about to launch the Mars 2020 rover. I think Mars is our absolute best chance
that's fantastic. Yeah. So, bringing it back to some food. What's your favorite type of food?
I have to go with the traditional peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with a good old peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay, wait. Okay, we got to break this down a little bit more. All right, peanut butter, chunky or smooth?
Smooth.
Smooth peanut butter, me too. My husband's chunky, and so I always know we have 2 jars, his and mine. And then jelly. Are you going with the traditional grape, or can it be strawberry? Can it be
strawberry? Strawberry.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Every time I eat one, it's like going back home to being, again, we're talking about the things that we loved as a kid. Whether it was Christmas or the holiday season, and food that makes you feel good. And it's such an important thing, or a love of space and these kinds of things coming together. And I think that a lot of times people, when we get older, we're told that we can't be that way anymore.
No,
or we shouldn't be that way anymore.
No, there's you never stop being a kid.
Isn't that so true? And that's why I love the fact that you're in your Santa hat, I'm in my chef hat, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. Here I am. Yeah.
Do you like to have parties or throw space themed parties?
I haven't thrown one personally. I went to one, I think, when I was still master's student. Tanya invited me to one somewhere in downtown Phoenix, and I at the time I had my big astronaut costume that I would wear to a bunch of CC events, and I actually had to throw it out because it just wore down after having it for a year. But yeah, no, I went to one, and then I was the spaceman at a number of as I said, a number of CC events. Excuse me. Took a lot of pictures with a lot of really happy families, happy kids. People who are really inspired about space.
Yeah. I love that. And the one thing about talking about education and outreach and where you want to go. I know you want to go to grad school, or you're on to get your PhD.
Yeah.
And do you want to be a professor or a researcher? What is it that you want to do?
I definitely am lately have been gunning towards university professor, because I've just kind of found myself giving a lot of advice to a lot of current undergrads, to a lot of current grad students with some very positive feedback that them saying that I'm actually giving them very good advice. So You know, I'm steering towards that track because, you know, if I'm doing that now, I might as well try to get paid to do it someday. You know, I just feel, you know, it would be the best fit for me to kind of tie in the science aspect of my life with, you know, the mentoring skills that I received as a former staff sergeant and a former, you know, assistant scoutmaster, and to sort of tie those in. I just think that, you know, university professors, you know, seems like the most logical fit.
Yeah, you know, well, I just finished my 21st year as a college professor, and yeah, I love it. It was definitely, and the reason why is because I love teaching, but also mentoring, just like you said, being able to give advice. And being at the community college, 99% of my students are non-science majors.
Yeah.
And so they still would come to me for advice. And it just, even years later, I have students that reach out to me that weren't geology majors and just checking in, wanting to update me on their career and the things that they're doing. And it's nice to have that influence in somebody's life and be able to have that positive kind of response.
Oh yeah, you know, I was, you know, that's, you know, I was an assistant scoutmaster back in Alaska from 2007 to 2010, and I had one of my scouts. I actually helped him get Eagle Scout even after I left Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've like chatted with him a few times long after I left Alaska, and he would, you know, call me up for, you know, advice on, you know, various things. I think he's actually in the Navy now. He's stationed in Guam, I think.
Oh, you know, I was born on Guam.
Oh, that's right. You were. That's right. Yeah, I was there I was there TDY for 2 weeks.
Wow, I've never been. I got to go back. You know, they left when I was a kid. We're actually over time now, but I want to ask you, have you ever been a part of the Civil Air Patrol?
I have not. I knew one person who ran the Civil Air Patrol back in Alaska, but no, personally, no.
Well, I might just have to recruit you because I'm a senior member at the Sky Harbor Civil Air Patrol. And so it's a nice squadron there.
Okay.
So we'll have the talks about coming and doing you can do some aerospace education with me. We'll have a lot of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And so thank you, Laurence, for chatting with me today about everything that you're doing. Can you tell, again, everybody who's listening, how to follow you and where they can pick up the book?
You can follow me on Twitter at ET_exists. During the COVID-19, while this is going on, I'm actually giving out free digital copies of that same book, which is on my pinned tweet. And then there's a link to my Etsy store where you can buy a printed copy. Comes with 3D glasses, a space magnet, personalized autograph. I chose Etsy because I could sell it for far cheaper. Yep, there's the magnet. I could sell it for far cheaper on Etsy than I could have on Amazon. I have some space merch on etexist.com. Shirts, hats, pillows that are actually growing slowly growing in popularity. Promo code I Love Space for free shipping. And
awesome.
Yeah,
now I gotta go. I'm gonna have to go find me a good shirt. The big thing is for me is it's got to be a V-neck, female V-neck.
Yeah.
But thanks again to everybody who's listening. It looks like your parents have both left a comment. Thank you so much. And Laurence, again, have a great day.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.